All right, we are back like we never left. Got another small cap review for you today. Got a handful of names, probably 4 or 5 names that were interesting to me that I want to go over. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Let me just say first, reminder, this is not a channel where I'm telling you what to buy, what to sell. This is a channel that goes over the plays of the day in small cap land, talking about different setups you can play and risk management. So if you're a beginner or intermediate trader, this is a place where you probably can get a lot of value. And let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'm going to start with some of the leading gappers. And we'll start with the leading gapper, excuse me, what's on my screen, SMX. So when it comes to gappers, a lot of time being the leading gapper is not a bullish factor. A lot of times the leading gapper of the day fades. In fact, on my note sheet where I keep all my notes, one of the criteria I have for gap and craps is if it is a leading gapper or not. So definitely something to monitor and to be aware of. Another factor that made me not so interested in this name to start is this up only pre-market. Talked about it yesterday, kind of an easy up, easy down situation. When we're opening here, we have no support from here all the way down to this lower daily zone. So if we look at the daily chart, even more bearish factors here is where this thing is opening up. It is opening right at this most recent pivot, as well as this pivot over here. So when you have names that open directly below, it is very common to see a quick move above and then a hard fade back. And that is exactly what we get on this name. And we'll see if we get to talk about it or not, but SLXN, the third leading gapper today, kind of had a similar situation on the daily chart where it opened right at key levels, pushed it, and then failed. So let's go into the intraday look and see what we got. Another thing to note, let's look at the volume. These are 2-minute candles, and they're around 500,000, 750,000. Really not a lot of volume at the open. Now you do get a volume increase. This is the 1-minute chart here. We do get a volume increase as we kind of push up into these levels. So that's good, from a bullish perspective, but we don't get any follow through. The volume immediately dries up as we're up here into this pre-market zone, which you can get just from this bottom wick and this upper wick. So right in this pre-market zone, this is where you really want the volume to continue to crank. This is where you want to see candles over 1 million shares a minute, and we're getting the opposite. We're getting a huge downward divergence of volume, which just is not gonna, it's not gonna be able to push through important levels, push through VWAP on no volume. So when you get this big stall here, writing is kind of on the wall, and you end up getting a big snap to the downside, breaking this lower trend line, breaking the lows of the day, and putting absolutely everybody that has traded the stock today underwater. So once you get to that point, it's pretty much done. You don't get any breathing until this clear zone on the daily down here, where you get a little bit of support. But to be honest, I would think it's more likely we get a move down closer to 230s, maybe the high day over here, 250s, then a bounce back up over 350 to end the day. So yeah, just a couple notes there on the leading gapper. We can go ahead and move on. Name number 2, this was super interesting, BKYI. Man, kind of a crazy name. So this was gapped up 86% on the day. Again, a very vertical pre-market where you just get the straight up move and then the sideways consolidation into open. Take a look at the daily chart and see what kind of context we can get. When I was mapping it out this morning, immediate thought, man, there are a ton of pivots on this name. Pivot, pivot, pivot. I mean, there's 10 on the screen, and you probably could draw even more of them as we go. So honestly, you could draw a big box over all of this and just know there's going to be, congestion in this area. So when we were opening it up, I was not, it wasn't on the top watch list for me. But when we get this really strong open on really nice volume, it's interesting, but don't want to chase it, so you got to wait for a pullback on the name. Let's see if we get the volume ratio of 4 to 1, really like 3 to 1, but I include the pre-market. So we'll call it 15 in the pre-market. Then we go to the first hour. We're looking for 60, and we have 73. So it fits the volume profile that you want to see for strong names, and it has some really interesting price action. So we get the strong move up, and then a knife back below the pre-market high levels. On the 1 minute chart, you might think it's okay setup right here. I mean, we have daily pivot, we have this pre-market level, we had an aggressive move, we have lessening volume, and we have the J lines right there. So there's a bunch of factors that make this, something that maybe you want to take a shot on, but it ends up failing, and we get an even better pattern here. We take out the intraday lows, make a little bit of a double bottom, higher low situation right off of it, and we start to curl. And here, start to get the volume to increase again, coming back up through the J lines, up to VWAP, reject a VWAP, which actually can be a bullish consideration here, and we get this tight consolidation below, right in this area. So what we get is a wonderful volume increase all the way into a squeeze out above the high. So really, once it positions itself here, where we have the support from this earlier dip, right up under $2, this candle right here especially, I mean, this is a really nice entry, getting close to this 197 pivot, and then we see the volume start to come in off the name. So even if you're joining, when you see the volume coming in the break of two, um, it's pretty clear what the intention is behind this move. They want to shake out everyone that was in it in the morning and then squeeze them out. And that they did it. They did a good job. The guy running this, or the team running this, did a really nice job. So even if you're a little late waiting for volume confirmation to come in, breaking a VWAP, I mean, you're probably not going to sell any before this halt happens, and so you're looking at 42% gain on the name. So patience pays on this one. Not being, not trying to chase this move at the entry. Um, Understandable if you try to get in right here. This is a nice area, but you can always take another swing off of this 197 support when you see the volume come in. So big things to note are, just the general idea of this move of shaking out everyone that was here with this dip below the intraday, higher low, all of this volume decreasing, decreasing, decreasing. I mean, we had a great opening volume, and then we decrease for the next like hour, almost 50 minutes, and then the volume starts to come back into the name, and we get the squeeze out. And once you get a giant move like that, definitely got to take profits. Maybe you want to risk the 280 level if you want to be greedy and want even more out of this name, but yeah, profits up here for sure, for sure. And then you get a nice fade. They're done. The guys that ran this got the squeeze out, sold all the shares. They're done. There's no more support in this name. So that's all she wrote there. QH, China name. Let's take a look at this one. This was really nice as well. All right, daily chart. What do we have here? This is one I have not really reviewed since this morning. So what do we see? This one's this easy one to map out. Some really clear pivots on this name. I'll add these two in here. Yeah, so clean pivots. It's opening. It has this kind of, talked about this yesterday on one of the names, where we have these lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. So it's kind of how it sets up for some intraday names, where you get the lower highs that get, squeezed out. So when you see all these lower highs, this kind of downtrend line going into a daily, at least gives you a thesis to work off of. You know, that ultimately you want to see a squeeze out above the 75-cent highs. And once we start getting closer to $1, we get the dollar magnet. That can definitely be a factor in it. So intraday price action, let's see what we got. Um, more aggressive pre-market action, but this one does have the support here from the after hours push, which creates for me, a really key level, especially when paired up with this, 49-cent, half dollar resistance level. So at the open, it's on lighter volume, kind of like even lighter than what we saw on SMX, since this is a penny stock and SMX was like $4. So even though we have the number of shares being similar, this is significantly less. It's like an eighth of the volume. So super light on the volume, but that makes it really clear when the volume does come in and start to churn on this name. So really can't trade it directly under these pivots for the reasons that we talked about in this video. But you can observe the fact that this trend line is right here and it does get respected. And once it goes above VWAP and then start to get volume in the name, now you can start looking for a trade, an opportunity. The obvious one being this pre-market zone and this 49-cent level. When you pair that with the trend line and the positive EMAs, it starts to paint a pretty clear picture for a trade that you could be taking. Let's take a look at the 1 minute and see if we get any additional confluence here. So we do have the J lines right there as well. And what you really like to see and is when you have this kind of consolidation low, this wick below it, and then from there you start to build. So if you're patient enough to wait to see these lows get broken and then start to build off of it, that's a really, really nice entry. I mean, if you're patient enough, see this, see some of the volume start to increase here on these 3, 4 candles. We'll just call getting in the middle. You can be risking 8%, 4 cents, um, and a minimum target of taking out that highs, which is 20. So look at 2.5 to 1 as like your initial target on these, but you end up getting a lot more than that if you're targeting the pre-market high break. So a lot of these names go up to pre-market high, and that's a great place to take your profits. The majority of them fade off from there, which this began to do, but you end up getting additional J-line support at this really nice level because you have this consolidation top that's right here, triple top, this daily level at 63 cents. J lines, lots of confluence that you have on this. So what I like to do is, I'm taking profits when you're getting these high of day volume candles. I like to take profits on those. A lot of times you'll see high day volume on high of day prices, and of course that happens multiple times in this move. So I'm not necessarily taking 100% profits, maybe taking half here, and then letting the EMAs be my guide for the rest. So maybe taking half or 3/4, somewhere in between on a move like this, where you get almost a fake breakout look over the highs, and then saying I'm going to stay in this move as long as the EMAs are positive and we don't get any overwhelmingly bullish price action. So we're getting decreasing volume as the price dips, increasing as it goes up, decreasing as it dips, increasing as it goes up. So that's all good VPA that you should be expecting. And then, taking additional profits here. This is, I doubt that I would be, if I was in this move from all the way down here, I do not think I would still have any juice left here unless I was, maybe left on a small lotto trying to get that $1 move. So end up getting a halt up and really close to it, 98 cents sell off. And since we didn't get it, I could see this going above as the day ends. So something to keep an eye on. Let's see, I got a couple more for you. To move away from the day one moves, let's do Wheeler. Yeah, we'll go with Wheeler. It's multi-day setup. Right off the bat, you're going to see that it has oh, oh no, oh no. Hate when the chart breaks. No. All right, let me reset this real quick. 1 second. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. All right, so Wheeler, it's a multi-day setup. It should be on your radar after this initial no gap run day. And for me, really important factor here is that this day one high of day has been super consistent in terms of being a base for this name. You have it here on day 2. You have it here on day 3. Then you get a sell-off below, but in the pre-market, it's back above, consolidates on top of, and it starts to move again. So the fact that it holds this day one high keeps the name in play for me. Going into open, super clear trend line and this tight consolidation flag going into it. And then we end up getting a flag on top of that, on top of this pre-market area, really nice VPA on it, where you get this decreasing volume and then the increase to break out on it. So um, this one, when you start to get these multi-day names like this, range can be a little bit harder um, to come up with price targets with, because now there are so many levels. You have this initial or the day before a high day, you have pre-market levels, you have daily zones, you have so much going on that it can be difficult to um, have a planned place to take profits. You just have to go off of price action. So this is a super clean setup. You know, if you're only a candlestick trader, even you can you can figure this one out. You know, increasing volume as you break the trend line. You know, risking below that candle, so 4% risk, end up getting 20% gain on this name. And the price action at the top is kind of the key. So here you have your high day volume candles at the top of the range, and then from here, decreasing volume, price staying the same. You get this upper wick fake breakout, and that's a clear sign that you just got to get out of this thing. That juice isn't there for right now. Maybe it's going to go lower, consolidate, make another move, but profits have to be taken up here with the fake breakout after the high day candle. So you end up getting a really nice bounce here and a short opportunity on it, but not a ton of follow through to the downside too. This is kind of a tighter range day. It's going to stay on radar, it looks like, for at least tomorrow as well. And yeah, just name to keep on radar. This was a pretty easy trade to catch though, just because whalers for sure going to be on your radar. You have really nice VPA above VWAP on a very clear setup. So draw your trend lines, pay attention to the VPA, wait for that volume to come in, and yeah, this was a pretty clean 20% move. And let's see, we're making good time today, 16 minutes. So let's do AILE. This might be the last one. This is what I would categorize as a no gap runner. So um, a name that there's no way for this to be on your radar. You just have to wait for it to hit your scanners and see if there's a trade to be made after that. So for me, this name came onto scans as it broke over this original intraday high. And there's a couple ways that you could play it from here. For me, the most clear and obvious one is, you know, off of this pivot. If we go to just look at it on the 1 minute chart and see what it looks like, you're getting this kind of stair step down. It's actually kind of more consistent volume, but then a really weakened volume as it comes down to this pivot and is able to hold. And then you start to get the volume increase again, and then a walk down of volume here. So this is a really clean area that you could take a trade off of once you start to see the volume building again in this group of candles, risking the low here. Very tight risk on this. It's nice to get it under $1 because you can then risk, you know, portion, like, you know, part of a penny instead of having to go in whole penny increments, which is what you're going to be getting on the upside. So it really makes for a really good risk reward profile right under $1. Um, Initial target, you know, is going to be up here, at least at the 112 level. And if we look at the VPA here, we do get, let's see, your first high day volume candle here. So a good place to, for me at least, I would be taking some initial profits there. And then, like I said before, using the EMAs as a guide, taking profits on extensions and going from there. You know, you get the high a day volume again here above this daily level to maybe take some more profits there down to a quarter, high day volume up here, extended, maybe take some profits. And then up here is where you start to get the really first truly bullet, or I'm sorry, bearish signals where you get this almost tweezer top look with the sells, and then we start to actually go below the 2-minute 8 for the first time, and from there it's done. So if you're patient enough to take profits on your extensions, letting the EMAs be the guide, really nice gains to be had here with initial selling around 20%, maybe some more around 33%, 44%. 59%. So really nice gains to be had on that one. So for me, I think that's going to do it on these names. There was, you know, some other stuff that was interesting, some fails in the morning from some of the other gappers like SLXN that we kind of briefly mentioned. BMLZ was another multi-day setup that I thought could be good going off of this day one high, but just no juice when it got there, and now we're getting fails off of it. So, you know, it's been kind of a slower, moving way to start the week, maybe the last couple weeks. But as always, there are plays to be made. If you're patient, let them set up first. There's no reason right now to be taking trades in the first 5-10 minutes of the market. Every play that we've had has given a good pullback, good risk reward. No reason to be chasing. So hope you guys traded it well today. If you are looking for daily talks in terms of the in-play stocks in the stock market for small caps, setups, risk management, stick around, subscribe. Any questions or tickers that you guys want to talk about or go over, feel free to leave them in the comments and we can go from there. I plan to be back at it tomorrow and hope to see you there. Thanks, guys.